Look, I've got to tell y'all something. I have no idea what I'm doing. Not just in the kitchen, but in general. I've been rapping for many years now, and despite the countless hours that I put into making music and mastering my craft, quote unquote, I feel like I still just have no idea what's going on or what I'm doing. Now, I've watched countless videos on things that I feel like I could improve on. I've read interviews and watched interviews. I've consumed hours and hours of YouTube content. And even still, after all this information that I've gathered, I still feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. So I figure instead of trying to run up this hill hoping that one day I'll get to the top of it and just suddenly be cured and feel like I know what I'm doing, I'm just gonna roll down it. Instead of white knuckling life and running against the wind, I'm just gonna start going with the flow. I found that when I get interested in something, especially now with access to so much information, I just want to learn it and consume as much as I can. And in today's day and age where we have access to so much information, it's easy to get lost in the mix. And I don't necessarily think that this is a bad thing, but what ends up happening for me at least is I end up spending more time researching and watching content about the thing that I'm interested in doing than actually doing the thing. So if your life is anything like mine, it's probably easier to find pockets of time to watch a YouTube video or pull out your phone and read an article while you're taking care of some other task that has to be done than it is to find time to sit down and actually work on whatever it is that you're interested in. For me, what usually happens is I'll binge a whole lot of content, and then when I actually get time to sit down to work on the thing that I'm interested in, I struggle. And usually this leads to me getting bummed out and sometimes just quitting the interest completely. I've noticed that my expectations are skewed from all the content that I watched or took in. I have too much awareness of how bad I am at the thing that I'm trying to do, and I chalk this up to me knowing more than my skill level is at the time. For instance, let's say I've never drawn a picture in my life. So I binge watch a whole bunch of content from the experts in the field that have way more experience under their belt than I do, and I'm learning about their different techniques and approach. It's easy to think that the next time I sit down with a pencil and a paper, it'll be easy to replicate these things. And as it turns out, I can't. When I was a kid, I had way less access to information, but I had way more access to time. So if I got interested in something, I would just start doing it. I would make do with what I had and I would just begin. I wouldn't look at what's the best gear. I wouldn't look at interviews from experts, etc. I would just sit down and start. So the only measure of how good or how bad I was the people at the very top that had some visibility, and then the people in my immediate circle or my surrounding area that I was able to interact with. But other than that, I wasn't inundated with anything else. I just focused on doing the craft. And then by the time that I did get introduced to the information or people that were like at a different level, I was already okay. Like my skills were already developed enough to where I could interact with other people in that field. So to put it simply, I was just too dumb to know how bad I was at whatever it was that I was doing. And by the time I had more access to people and resources, I was already at a skill level that was acceptable, to say the least. And let me rephrase that. Let me not say dumb. It's actually important to gauge your expectations and be okay knowing that you will suck at anything you just start doing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. For instance, recently I just started learning piano. I've probably been playing for like 3 months, 4 months now, but I've been making music for quite some time. So the concepts aren't necessarily that new to me, but making it work with my fingers versus just understanding the content is two totally different things, man. And I heard a quote that really stuck with me about learning piano, and I forget who it's from. So if you know who it's from, just let me know in the comment section. But the quote goes something like, as adults, we think that because we understand something mentally, that we should be able to do it physically. And look, there's no way around putting in the reps. So yeah, some people pick things up quicker, and yeah, some people catch a lucky break, but in my opinion, consistency is the most important thing no matter what it is that you're learning. You can get as many insider tips and tricks as you want, but I think that unless you're at a skill level to truly understand and absorb the information, it's more distracting than anything. Like, You've got to hit your own roadblocks and you got to hit your own stride and get the info as needed to keep pushing forward. That's the best way to learn anything, in my opinion. I've been a fan of music and rapping for years at this point. So naturally, something that I always said I wanted to do was make beats. And since I was already involved in music, I was aware of how bad I was every time I sat down and tried in the past. So I know it sounds good to me, and I have a large mental reference of good producers and classic beats, but I couldn't make something that I liked. And as the cycle goes, I consumed more and more content, trying to learn what the silver bullet was that was going to make me good at production. And I eventually dropped it, you know? So now, knowing what I know about the importance of creating more than you consume, staying consistent, and just gauging your expectations correctly, I recently picked it back up because it's something that I've always been interested in and I want to be good at it. And I know that good is arbitrary, but I don't want to regret not pushing through the beginner phases and coming out the other end of it. So to help me stay accountable with making beats, I've decided that I'm going to produce my own project. So the project has to be at least 7 songs long, and it has to come out before, let's say, September. So it has to come out either during or before September, and it has to be at least 7 songs long. And throughout the process of me creating this tape, I'm going to document the process on this channel, and hopefully I can learn some things from those of you that produce, and you know, it'll just help me continue to put in the reps and stop being such a perfectionist with certain things, especially when it comes to beat making, which I'm, you know, not good at. I feel like my level of rapping totally eclipses whatever I could produce now, but that's not always the case. You could know something from a technical aspect and still not be able to make something good, and vice versa. You could know nothing and still make something great. A lot of the music that we idolize and look up to came from people that were just experimenting and stumbled upon something that sounded good to them. If you're interested in picking up a new skill or a new hobby or whatever it is that you've been telling yourself that you want to do, put down the phone, stop researching it. You don't need to know anything. Just start, and then you'll find your direction. And if you want to follow me and my journey on creating this next project, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And if so, I'll see you next time. Peace.